session of Parliamentary Discuss beckons and NTA Parliament is here for all the updates. The Community Parliament, known as the ECOWAS Parliament, has a new leadership, save for the position of the Speaker, just as the Parliament of Sierra Leone gets a new Speaker and Deputy. This is Global Parliament, and it is reaching you from the city of Abuja, Nigeria's federal capital. I am Vivian Idekbefo. We commence the business of the day with the news segment. Ene Ojonugba is our guide.
The sixth session of the ECOWAS Parliament has been inaugurated, thus opening a new chapter for the regional legislature, with members expressing commitment to regional integration.
The disintegration will not only disturb the freedom of movement and establishment of people, it will also aggravate insecurity of the region. More specifically, the withdrawal will affect security cooperation in terms of sharing intelligence and participation in regional counter-terrorism.
Our task is to build upon the foundation led by our predecessors and to forge a path towards a more inclusive, equitable, and prosperous future.
Members spoke on the days ahead.
It is our responsibility to work with the ECOWAS Commission and to work with the ECOWAS heads of government to ensure that we brought security to all the areas that are lacking security at the moment.
We want to have good relationship and talk with people so Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali could come back to ECOWAS.
We know the people we're going to elect, people that will have the interests of ECOWAS at heart.
Meanwhile, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS Female Parliamentarians Association, ECOFEPA, has announced Maimouna Cissé of the Gambian Parliament as the Secretary General of its newly elected Executive Committee. Cissé will work with a leadership team led by Veronica Cissé of Sierra Leone as President. Following her election, Maimouna Cissé expressed her gratitude, stating that her appointment signifies a victory for the Gambia and pledged her commitment to fulfilling the association's goals. A new leadership has emerged at the Parliament of Sierra Leone following the resignation of the former Speaker, Dr. Abbas Cheno Bundu, on health grounds. Consequently, Sengapore Solomon Thomas, a member of the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party, secured 128 votes to be returned as Speaker. The emergence of the new leadership is in accordance with Section 79, Act No. 6 of 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone. President of the Pan-African Parliament, PAP, Fortune Charumbira, has led a delegation on a courtesy visit on Dr. Naledi Pandor, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of the Republic of South Africa. The meeting discussed latest developments regarding the Pan-African Parliament and its current institutional operational capacity within the framework of the host country agreement between the South African government and the African Union, AU. Also on the table was possible dates for the upcoming ordinary session of the Pan-African Parliament that will bring together parliamentarians from the 55 member states of the AU. The president of the Pan-African Parliament, Fortune Charumbira, expressed gratitude to the government on South Africa for the facilities provided to support its mandate on behalf of the people of Africa. It's Ene Ojonugba reporting for Global Parliament.
Many thanks, Ene. Standing committees are an integral part of Parliament. Simply put, they are a microcosm of the macro society, making it easy for members of Parliament to carry out their duties of oversight. On the conversation segment, we take a look at the Committee on Monitoring, Evaluation and Implementation of the Nigerian House of Representatives. Well, you're welcome to this segment of the program, Global Parliament. And today we have with us Honorable Patrick Umar. He is the Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Monitoring, Evaluation and Implementation of the Legislative Agenda of the 10th House of Representatives. Honorable, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
This committee is novel. What is the mandate?
Let me thank you and welcome you to my office. I represent the good people of Ikorekbene, Esienudim, Oborokara Federal Constituency in the 10th House of Representatives. And just as you know, I chair the House Committee on Monitoring, Evaluation and Implementation of Legislative Agenda. Incidentally, this used to be an ad hoc committee of the House until recently when Mr. Speaker, in his wisdom, made me chairman of the standing committee. And this is the first time we have this as a standing committee in the House. Now, the jurisdiction of the committee spans to having to interface with stakeholders to ensure that the legislative agenda of the 10th National Assembly is understood and implemented. So the jurisdiction of my committee covers such areas as monitoring. By monitoring, it implies that we do some assessment, we take assessment reports from other committees, interface with stakeholders, we obtain periodic reports on oversights and things that are done within Parliament, and we issue our own reports, quarterly reports really, so that we can also set a roadmap in terms of evaluation and then in the implementation as a component of the legislative agenda. Now, the agenda of the House spans to broad.
Yes, because I was going to ask what is the legislative agenda for this 10th House?
Yes, it spans across national security, economic diversification, inclusivity, open parliament, healthcare, service delivery. I've mentioned national security, which is at its core, and then infrastructure. So we've been working on this to set up a framework for assessment, and then to partner with worthy development partners, so we can drive the agenda of the 10th Assembly.
Okay, so in talking about the legislative agenda for the 10th House of Representatives, you made mention of open parliament. What do you mean by open parliament? Are we looking at the indices as proposed by the IPU, or does the House of Representatives have its own agenda, have its own idea of how to make the parliament more open, accessible to the people?
Yeah, in very clear terms, open parliament is the same concept everywhere. That the constituents, those we represent, the Nigerian people, have access to us. That we truly represent them. We represent their aspirations for a better Nigeria. So it's a clear issue. And the onus is on us who are parliamentarians to engage them from time to time. So we rediscover areas of need where changes have been made, where we need to be flexible, where laws should be made to enhance whatever aspirations they have. It is when we constantly engage with them, interface with them, by way of town hall meetings and consultations with stakeholders and with rural people, that we're able to know what the needs of our people are, because of how life is in our country. And the way the National Assembly is structured, it is very easy to access us in the 10th National Assembly. Of course, we have the obligation to maintain our constituency offices across the country, where our people can interact with us, where they can deposit their concerns, and then they have feedbacks. So that mechanism works, and it works so well, because my constituents have access to me just like they have access to other colleagues. The interesting aspect of it is that once you win election, you represent Nigeria, beginning from the people of your constituency. And it makes the job very easy. So the way the National Assembly is structured is such that our people have access to us. And interestingly too, the current Speaker of the House of Representatives has presented the current 10th Assembly as the People's Parliament, the People's Assembly. That is to say that the people have access to us. If they have concerns, we raise them by way of petitions. And a lot of our constituents have had their problems solved through petitions that we raise on the floor of the House. And then again, by way of motions, a lot of things have been, reversed. Administrative indiscretion, some challenges people have had in the past or within the times that we represented them. We've had to raise this on the floor of the House, and then it is the resolution is passed, and then the relevant committee takes care of it. And sometimes these administrative exercises are reversed. And then we make reviews on them, and at the end of the day, we bring so-called to our people that we represent. If you don't keep the parliament open, you can't achieve these outcomes. And so that's also the burden that I have as the chairman of the House Committee on Monitoring, Evaluation and Implementation of the agenda, because the agenda now comes up with core areas of need, core areas of interest of the 10th National Assembly. And from time to time, I make my reviews, and then we also issue periodic reports to Mr. Speaker, and then to the House when such reports are invited.
So we will be keeping tabs on how the 10th Assembly moves with its legislative agenda. Yeah. And while we are keeping our eyes on that, we're also interested in climate mitigation. I know you are someone who is passionate about climate action, climate activities, and all that. And you are a member of the Ecological Fund Committee of the House.
Yeah. Well, basically, the challenges we have about climate change is something of great concern. The weather pattern has been altered. We no longer have consistency in terms of temperature. And the emission of greenhouse gas. And unfortunately, too, Nigeria depends on oil exploration. And the gas issues about gas flaring, environmental degradation is at its peak. And somehow, the citizens are not even complaining as much as they should, because they know their life depends on oil. The GDP of our country is oil-based. So we depend on how much. In fact, oil determines our foreign exchange. That's the truth. And so moving from here to the next level as a country, it requires a whole lot. And there's always this challenge as to how much we can embrace climate change mitigation. Because most of those industrialized world, they have settled their issues in terms of production capacity, in terms of industrialization, issues about manufacturing and all that. Whereas we depend on importing everything, including even the food we eat. Whereas we have arable land, we have the resources, but then again, some will complain that there's environmental degradation, and that we should use biodegradable facilities for whatever we have to do. But how sustainable is it? We cannot solve the problem of power. And so you drive into a compound in Abuja, and every compound in Abuja runs a generator because it's challenging to have 24-hour power supply. The GENCOs, those who generate electricity, can scarcely generate enough for local consumption, let alone for industrial consumption, domestic consumption, let alone for the industrial consumption. So if you have to depend on climate change, that means if you have to do the climate mitigation, that means we should depend on solar panels or alternate power supply that is not fossil fuel emitting. So we have to reduce this emission. We must reduce emission to embrace the real climate change deal. And again, as Africa, we need to deconstruct a lot of things to be at par with the Western world. And beyond this, even the Western world is not that sincere in the climate change agreement. So it now leaves us as a country to trust God, because every man is to himself and God for all. So this is self-help now. So when we talk about climate change and ecological issues, because of the grave impact of climate change, there is flooding, sea level rise, and in the coastal regions they can't access livelihood again because of flooding. And even the ecological disasters, you cannot even access. Some rural roads are gone.
Yes.
How best can we ensure that what is budgeted for in the ecological office?
This is what I wanted to ask. Yes, the management of the ecological fund, the disbursement and the utilization of this ecological.
Yes, how do we ensure that the ecological fund is properly utilized? Because there are places with real need of intervention, but yet they have nobody to push it for them. And sometimes we just hear these things in budgets in bizarre amounts, yet execution becomes a problem. So these are areas we are interested in, and we are committed to what we have to do in the National Assembly to ensure that Nigerians are happy.
I did ask that considering your interest in these areas, what you will be proposing to the committee to include in its agenda to help make sure that these funds are properly utilized.
Of course, the law empowers us to exercise oversight. So if money is stipulated to have been spent somewhere, we will find out if indeed it was spent there. And if there are areas we feel should be such funds should be directed to ecological needs, and we can make our opinion known. So it's a clear thing.
Are there punitive measures?
Of course, the Nigerian law provides for anything you want, depending on the approach you want to take. If money is meant to be expended and then somebody has not spent it, it's prosecutorial. Somebody has to be prosecuted for not utilizing funds properly. So we have a mandate over those kind of things, and we shall invoke it if necessary. But we trust that the gentlemen who are in charge of that to do the needful, so that they will also give our country the good name that we are all working for.
Okay, so before we go, your last word concerning your committee, what Nigerians should expect. Like you said, it was an ad hoc committee and made a standing committee this time.
First is to place on record my commitment to serve Nigerians, and second is
to assure them that the 10th Assembly will not be business as usual, that we will be on our toes to deliver on the promises we made to our constituents, and that to the glory of God, the 10th National Assembly will fulfill its agenda for Nigerian people. That it is the People's Parliament, that we are open to them, and that we are ready to serve them.
Thank you so much for watching, and the program Global Parliament continues. Up next is Parliamentary Journal, a segment that breaks down parliamentary jargons. It is on that note that we adjourn this session of Global Parliament. Remember to engage with us on the platforms displayed on the screen. Till we come again next week, on behalf of the production crew, I am Vivian Itepepo.